Hello, this is Heather Hoffman. I'm here today to share a little bit of an intro with you of our new Pinkfresh Studio press plates that coordinate with the Betterpress machine from Spellbinders. I'm going to start with a little quick overview of this machine. That first base part that we're looking at there, that's called the chase. That's kind of the base of the platform where your magnets are. It also comes with these three really thin kind of plastic shims that fit underneath there. I imagine those are adjustable if you need to change the depth of things. And then you have that main magnetic plate. It's got the grid marks on there with kind of size marks for various sizes of cards. And then you have that top part, the clear plate, which is called the platen. So it's a really simple, easy machine. You can see those same grid marks on there. The magnets on the four corners, that's where you're going to tape your paper. And then it's got this lovely little yellow tape that's low tack that you can use to tape that paper on there when you're using the Betterpress. It works, I've kind of noticed either way. You can flip the plate over. I don't know if this matters or not, but I kind of tend to flip it back and forth. I figure if the plate starts to warp at all, that's going to kind of help make it last longer. Now, all of those internal pieces are available or going to be available. I'm pretty sure they are as replacement parts. All right, next up, the paper that you're going to use with the Betterpress. Your machine will come with this little sampler pack, and you can get more from Spellbinders or available in our store, some of the colors. And this is cotton paper that's designed to work with the impression. Also, not available yet, but coming soon, our Pinkfresh premium watercolor paper that will be available in early 2024. It's a nice high quality, thick, wonderful watercolor paper that works beautifully with the Betterpress. All right, let's talk about some of the press plates. All of our press plates so far come with coordinating dies. I'm not going to show you those today. I'm just going to show you how the Betterpress works. So first thing I like to do is line up that press plate on that magnetic plate that you've got on the bottom. Those grid marks are really helpful for getting that evenly lined up. I'm going to be demoing with our new watercolor paper that will be coming soon, so you can see how beautifully it works with everything. So you can see I've got that low tack tape and I'm taping it on that top plate. I found it just takes the tiniest bit of tape. Don't put a bunch. If you put too much, it can rip off a little bit of your paper. So I just use a tiny bit, just enough to hold on to it on the corner. And I'm going to start by showing you first some of the Spellbinders Betterpress specific ink. It's in these lovely little cubes. This is the ink you're going to want to use if you want to use colors with any colored ink with watercolor. It is watercolor friendly and it comes in a whole bunch of colors. And I'm just going to ink it up there. Instead of just tapping like you would on a stamp, you kind of either use like a little bit of a rub or a dab and twist kind of effect to get your plate all well inked up. Then just set that plate up on top and run it through your manual die cut machine. Just simple, nice and easy, once through. No extra pressure or anything needed. And you can see when you pull that off, you've got that beautiful impression. You've got the color from the ink and also this lovely letterpress. It doesn't show up to any kind of justice on camera or on photos, but it's a beautiful texture with the debossed impression inside as well. All right, so that is using the Spellbinders ink. Now, I believe what they recommend is Ranger for cleaning, Ranger Archival Ink Cleaner. I don't have any of that. So far, we've been using rubbing alcohol with good results to clean off that ink. We don't know over the long term, so that's just kind of what we're using. Feel free to kind of experiment on your own, or if you get that archival cleaner. But I think that this is probably going to work well. We're just kind of cautiously optimistic as we test that out. So I use that to clean off the Spellbinders ink. That's also what you'll want to use for our detail black, and I'll show you that in a little while. But next up, let's show how beautifully it works with all of our rainbow of Pinkfresh Studio premium dye inks. I've got one of our ink pads, the ink cubes there in Cherry Blossom. You can use your full-size ink pads as well. I've found the ink cubes are a little handier just because you have to worry less about the ink kind of overlapping and getting on that magnetic plate. It's not that big a deal. They clean off easily, especially if you clean them soon, but it's just kind of nice to get in there. And I'm kind of showing those two different, really gentle. You don't want to rough up the surface of your ink pad. So I either do a really gentle kind of rub around or that kind of dab and twist. Either one seems to work equally well. I'm just really gentle because I don't want to tear up the edges of my ink pads either. All right, same thing. I'm going to put that plate facing down on that, run it through my manual die cut machine. It's my Platinum 6 there. And then we'll take that top plate off. And you can see once again with that ink, we got another just beautiful impression, that beautiful debossed look. Carefully peel that tape off. I also reuse that tape over and over and over. I can get quite a few uses out of those one little tiny pieces. So it's going to be kind of a nice way of being economical. So there are those two side by side, the Ranger ink on the left and one of our Pinkfresh Studio inks on the right. Now keep in mind, if you use our Pinkfresh ink, it is not watercolor friendly. So if you put water on it, that ink is going to run and bleed. But because of that, you'll notice I just have a spray bottle of water and it works really well for cleaning our Pinkfresh dye ink off. It's just going to clean right off. I spray it really well, use a dry cloth to kind of clean all that off. I don't know if you leave it on for a long time if it would be harder to clean. It's possible. So I just kind of tend to clean it fairly quickly. And just like that, it's good to go. All right, next up, let's look at our detail black ink. It is a hybrid ink, so it's going to also work beautifully with the letterpress, and it's going to be watercolor friendly. I've got some of our new upcoming release of liquid watercolors. That's also coming next year in early 2024. And I'm going to show you how these work so beautifully together. Again, that lovely watercolor paper, and I've just kind of lined up. I want that rose kind of off to the side of my panel that I'm going to create. So I'm grabbing those same two little pieces of tape, tiny little bit in each corner once again. Make sure I have that lined up square. Those grid marks are really handy for making sure you have things where you want them. And I'm going to do that same little just kind of dab and twist as I go around. And it's pretty easy to look on there and make sure that you've got good coverage on everything. And once I did that, I kind of just went over a few little spots that I could see kind of maybe were missing a little bit of ink there, just to make sure everything looked good and solid and black. So I would get a great solid impression on there as well. All right, that is a little bit larger, so it took a little longer to get that inked up. That would be one of the times you could use a bigger one, but again, you might get some kind of overlap onto your magnetic plate. We're going to run that through our die cut machine. And I have noticed detail black is more likely to stain that magnetic plate. It doesn't come off once it's on there if you've left it to dry and haven't cleaned it off quickly, but it doesn't affect its use. And there we have that beautiful impression in that crisp black detail ink. And it's all ready for us to watercolor. I didn't need any time to set it aside and dry or anything else. But this is where I'm going to use, once again, that rubbing alcohol to clean it off. And if you do it fairly quickly, anything you get on that plate is going to clean off well also. Those little dirty smudges you can see on there, those are old ones that I didn't necessarily clean off and didn't realize once they got on there. I'll kind of show you. I'll spray them again and try and wipe, and you'll notice they're there. They're not going anywhere. I kind of do it each time just to make sure I haven't missed any spots so it doesn't get dirtier, but it doesn't affect its use. It just looks a little bit more well-loved, and it's not going to hurt anything. So don't panic about that if you miss it, but if it matters to you, then I would just suggest cleaning it off quickly. All right, this is all ready. I'm going to pull out those watercolors that I showed you, and I just picked 3 simple colors there. I'm using Coral Reef, Peach Fuzz, and then Sage for the leaves. I am by no means a watercolor artist. I just wanted to show you, especially with these light colors, how well it works with the detail black ink. You don't have to worry about that ink running. These are nice light pastel colors, and you'll be able to tell that there's no black leaching into my watercolor at all. And again, if you want to stamp in any kind of a colored ink and do a watercolor technique like this, then you're going to want to use those Spellbinders dye inks that come, either you get a detail black one or just a black one in the Betterpress machine part of that kit, or you can buy additional colors as you want, and you can use those with watercolor. They are designed to work that way. So I sped this video up again just a little bit while I just quickly put some color down. Once again, this isn't a watercolor video. That is not, I love to watercolor, but I'm definitely not any kind of an expert by any means. So I just kind of quickly dabbed some color on, dabbed a little of the others in there to let them blend. This is just kind of a little look at me doing it. And then I'm going to skip ahead to the finished product once it had finished drying. I did add some splatters after this before I finished my card, but you can see how crisp that black image is with the watercolor on there. And then there's that finished card. I just cut the panel and added one of the sentiments from Favorite Things Sentiments that we had as part of this first release. Now, I also want to show you two different ways that you can incorporate a little bit of ink blending. That first one is the Spellbinders cotton cardstock. I found ink blending first and then doing your press plate over the top. For this one, I used Eucalyptus on the background and then Spruce tips on it. And then this is our Pinkfresh watercolor paper. It has a little more texture. You can see it on the ink blending. I used Sunkissed and Cherry Blossom on the background and then Begonia to do the press plate over the top. And here is the finished cards with those. I think it's just kind of another lovely look. You do get a little bit of texture, but it's a fun way to kind of add color to that background and get a little bit of a different look. One other thing you can do with these press plates is they do work beautifully for hot foiling. You can't use hot foil plates for Betterpress because they don't have that coating that allows the ink to adhere to them well to get a smooth finish. I'm going to use some teal foil, and then this is the Medallion Border press plate. And I'm going to heat up my machine. I'm skipping ahead a little so you don't have to sit and wait for that machine to preheat. You can see my preheat button has stopped blinking. Make sure and put your foil down, the pretty side facing your press plate. And then I'm going to release that from my machine, set my white cardstock on top, grab my two top plates there. And same as we did before, just run it through my Platinum 6 there. Generally, when I just hot foil like this, I just go through once. I don't reverse it. I get more overfoiling if I do that. So I just tend to keep it just one time through, and that usually works. Let's pull those plates off and take a quick peek. And you can see we have a beautiful hot foiled image with this as well. And it gets all of those intricate details just as well on the hot foiling as the inking. So one more way to stretch and use your supplies as well. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you enjoyed and got some good ideas. Feel free to leave any questions in the video comments below. Have a great day.